Alright, you lot. If your 12-year-old is playing an 18-rated shooter and hears someone say, fuck off, in voice chat, and your first thought is to sue developers, you've already failed. Listen to video for parents. You had your warning. This one's for industry. For every studio watering down their own fucking game to please outrage mob, PR suits, and bloody clickbait cowards who can't tell a sarcastic act from a hate crime. You want to know why game feels gutless? Why every shooter feels like they've been run through a HR seminar? Stick around, cause I'm done pulling punches. Age rating is on box. It's on digital storefront. It's in trailers. It's on fucking loading screen. You're buying a Peggy 18 game and handing it over to a 12-year-old? You don't get to play victim when they end up teabagging corpses in a war zone with some bloke from Sheffield shouting racial slurs down mic. You signed off on that moment you hit purchase. Ratings mean something or they mean fuck all. You don't get both. You wouldn't take your kid to a nightclub and complain music were too loud and drinks too strong. But somehow you hand them Call of Duty and lose your fucking mind when you hear someone call another player a twat. It's not game's job to raise your kid. It's yours. Game devs didn't hide out. They didn't trick you. They didn't sneak in blood and swearing like Marvel post-credit scene. Entire game was designed from ground up to be aggressive, fast, violent, and cathartic. That's what mature shooters are supposed to be. That's what we want them to be. Not politically neutered playgrounds where you can chainsaw a man in half, but God forbid someone says shit in proximity chat. But we're not allowed to say that, are we? Cause second you suggest adults should have adult spaces, someone comes sprinting out a Twitter thread with a pitchfork screaming, think at children! As if we haven't been trying to think of them this entire fucking time by keeping them out of these games in first place. And you want to know why publishers keep caving? Cause the note lawsuits are coming. Headlines. Angry parents. Pearl-clutching clickbait that starts with video game blamed for violent behaviour and ends with another dev team rewriting the dialogue for TikTok monetization. If ratings don't mean out, why even bother? Let's just call every game family friendly and roll credits before anyone gets offended. Or, and hear me out, we grow a fucking spine and start making content for people it were intended for. You know, adults. Ones with disposable incomes and trauma to match. Every time a kid hears a swear word online, there's a parent out there pretending like it's a war crime. Like the sweet little angel just got personally corrupted by Satan himself cause some bloke from Liverpool told a camper to eat shit. And what do? They run to the nearest lawyer, crying that game's too violent or too toxic or didn't warn them. Didn't warn them? It's rated fucking 18. It don't come with a colouring book. It comes with a bloodstained certificate that says not suitable for children. And you bought it anyway. Moment you handed that controller to your kid, you made a decision. A lazy one. And when it blew up in your face, instead of taking it, you blamed people who made the thing you ignored warnings about in first place. You don't get to sue Rockstar cause your kid recreated a GTA carjacking when game told you up front in bold letters this game contains violence, drugs, swearing, sex, and scenes that might emotionally damage a well-adjusted adult. And you bought it for a 12-year-old cause it were just a game. It's not just a game. It's an M-rated Peggy 18 designed for grown-ups experience. And it's not developers' job to raise your fucking kids. Just like it's not Quentin Tarantino's job to babysit your living room. You don't blame Reservoir Dogs for teaching your kid about severed ears if you were one that let them watch it. Stop suing studios for doing the thing they told you they were doing. Start being a parent. Either you play a game with your kid and explain what's going on, or you don't let them play. That's it. Those are options. Everything else is just damage control wrapped in bullshit and parental guilt. If your kid ends up screaming slurs in Modern Warfare 3 lobbies, it's not cause game were too toxic, it's cause you raised a little fucking twat and gave him a headset. And speaking of total twats, let's talk about that fucking app. Summer Game Fest. Splitgate VR gets announced. Ian Prue walks out, smile on his face, hype in air, wearing a plain black cap with 4 little words on it. Make FPS great again. That's it. Not a manifesto, not a party flag, not a call to arms for MAGA crowd, just a cheeky sarcastic nod to absolute state of modern shooters. And what happens? Twitter melted. Reddit caught fire. Journalists started frothing. He were accused of promoting extremism or endorsing right-wing propaganda, all over a hat. A black fucking hat. We had a single political reference beyond a sentence that gamers have been saying for years. And funniest part, he wasn't even wrong. FPS games do need to be great again. They become corporate plastic, all flesh, no fury. Monetized to hell, slapped in anime skins and neon garbage, designed to appease widest possible audience, which means pissing off people who actually used to love them. But none of that mattered, because internet saw a slogan they didn't like and decided that a developer had committed a war crime by wearing a piece of fabric with text on it. That's how fragile gaming's become. Not cause at games, but cause at people playing them, people covering them, people gatekeeping what's acceptable in an industry built on rebellion, grit and chaos. It wasn't a political statement, it were a middle finger to mediocrity. And if that offends you more than your operator in COD shouting "fuck you" after blowing someone's spine out with a deagle, then gaming's not your problem. You are. This is why FPS games feel fucking dead. Not cause mechanics are broken, not cause netcode sucks, though, let's be honest, it usually does, but cause soulless genre's been drained out and replaced with whatever marketing team thinks won't get them cancelled. Voice chat used to be unfiltered chaos. That was part of charm. Griefing, banter, rage. It felt real. Now it's muted by default, filtered, sanitized. You're not talking to a squad, you're talking to a set of emotes. And if you do talk, better watch your mouth, because if you call someone a knobhead, some AI moderation bot's gonna flag you for hate speech and hand you a 3-day comms ban. Operators, they get to say whatever the fuck they want. You could shoot someone in the face with a crossbow and post-kill line would be something like, "Get fucked, dickhead," like a real soldier in a bad mood. But you can't say it. And don't get me started on cosmetics. You've got characters dressed like birthday cakes, glowing with anime sparkles, doing TikTok dances after a headshot, and we're supposed to take that seriously? It's a battlefield, not fucking Coachella. You used to storm Normandy, now you're dodging bullets from a catgirl with glitter sniper and a username that ends in ooh. And yet thing that gets censored most? Language. Not kill animations, not executions, not blood sprays. Language. As if that's somehow worse than a finishing move where a guy gets impaled and launched into a wall. They've turned FPS games into safe spaces, not for players, but for shareholders, for advertisers, for parents who buy 18-rated games for 11-year-olds and then get upset when someone says word bastard. We didn't lose golden era of shooters cause people stopped caring. We lost it cause publishers got scared. Scared of lawsuits, scared of backlash, scared of 4 words on a fucking hat. So they stripped out everything that gave shooters the bite and replaced it with rainbow camo and influencer bundles. And you wonder why no one's having fun anymore. Games rated for adults should fucking feel like they're made for adults, not designed for 12-year-olds with parental credit cards and Fortnite addiction. If you're gonna slap Peggy 18 on a box, then commit. Own it. Let language fly. Let characters be crass, angry, brutal. Let multiplayer feel like a war zone, not a primary school dodgeball match. Stop designing games with tone or a Pixar movie just cause Karen on Facebook might get offended if her little Jimmy hears someone say bollocks during a team deathmatch. It's not game's job to censor itself into irrelevance just to avoid a PR complaint from a parent who never should have bought that game in first place. Let me be clear. This ain't about abuse. This ain't about harassment. This is about letting grown-ups be grown-ups in spaces built for them. If you can't tell the difference between banter and bullying, between hard-earned insult and targeted toxicity, you shouldn't be making games or playing them. If you're offended by a swear word in a game that lets you beat a man to death with a shovel, you're not just in wrong game, you're in wrong fucking hobby. Go knit a blanket, build a jigsaw, but don't stand there pretending your moral compass are an industry built on violence, chaos and catharsis. If you're one of those people who loses their shit over a joke hat with words "make FPS great again," you need to unplug, not cause you're wrong, but cause you've clearly forgotten what games are. Escapism, exaggeration, parody, provocation. You've turned a 4-word piss take into a fucking war crime. So here's the truth. If fuck off makes you run fuck mute button, you don't need a safe space. You need to grow up fuck up, and if you gave that headset to your underage kid, you don't need a lawsuit, you need a fucking mirror. Join Discord, follow on X. Consider a channel membership if you're one of few still clinging to common sense. Smash like, hit subscribe, drop your comments and questions below. Unless you're about to cry about swearing in an 18 rated shooter. And I'll see you next time, you magnificent.